Well, the city of San Diego is proposing a $25 minimum wage mandate, but some local business leaders are raising some concerns about the impact on businesses in the regional economy. Joining me now to discuss this proposal, Chris Cate, the president and CEO of the San Diego Regional Chamber of Commerce. Chris, thanks for coming in.
Good morning.
Let's talk about this $25 minimum wage proposal. It's making its way through the San Diego City Hall here. Chamber not necessarily on board with this one. Can you give me the backstory and why you don't think this is necessarily all positive?
Yeah, well, we understand the rationale for the council members to try to propose this, but what we're trying to raise awareness of is that this is not something that's going to be really effective in reducing the cost of living in San Diego. We all know how expensive it is to live in San Diego, and we would rather work on the root causes of those pressures, whether it's the cost of living, cost of housing in San Diego, the cost of doing business in San Diego, the cost to start a company or a small business. These are all issues that we should be focusing on rather than trying to address something that's going to be a Band-Aid approach to folks and try to make them earn a living in San Diego. Let's go for the root causes of why it's so expensive to live in San Diego.
What have the businesses been telling you? I mean, if they go from 17 to 25, that's $8 an extra per employee, and it's going to add up. I mean, what are their thoughts on all
Exactly, and I think the talking points from the proponents of this is that this is going to be paid for by out-of-town tourists or going to be impacting large major corporations, folks who are visiting San Diego, and that's just really not the case. If you look at who's going to be impacted by this, it's going to be the Padres, it's the zoo, it's going to restaurants or event centers. These are the folks who are going to have to bear the burden of this, and that's going to go down and impact San Diegans who want to go to a Padres game, who want to go to the zoo. And you look at what the city's already doing now with increasing the cost of parking at Balboa Park, paying for parking to go to a Padres game or the zoo, the trash fee that you're going to be paying for. These are all things that are increasing the cost of living in San Diego. Let's address those pressures first, as opposed to trying to impact small businesses who are trying to make a living and pay for their employees. We're going to have to bear the burden of this.
Yeah, you touched on it. Supporters are saying, look, it's expensive here. Cost of housing is like going through the roof. We need a living wage to live here. Your response to some of the critics that argue about the expense of just living here and working here?
Well, let's go for the reasons of why it's so expensive to live here. And we've seen just in the last few months, the city council adopt a number of measures that increase the cost of living in San Diego, not to mention what's coming down the pipe with whether it's water rates or anything else that are going to be increasing costs. These are all things that are putting pressure on that. And so why don't we just address that first? We don't believe that increasing the minimum wage to an arbitrary number is going to reduce the cost of living in San Diego. We've seen this not work previously. But less than 10 years ago, we had the same debate and same conversation. We were told at the time that this is going to be the fix-it. This is going to be the one thing that's going to address the cost of living in San Diego, make it easier for folks to live in San Diego. Yet 10 years later, we're back in the same perpetual cycle where we're having to address how expensive it is to live in San Diego.
I want to share with our viewers and you and get your reaction to what Councilmember Marnie Von Wilpert said about this, saying, quote, "Big corporations on our waterfront are not small businesses. They are doing fine. They can pay a living wage." What is your reaction to her remarks?
I think that's the misperception about who this is going to impact. It's very easy to show that this out-of-town mega billion-dollar corporation is going to be the bad guy. They're the ones who are going to be impacted by this, but that's not the case. I ran down a list of who is going to be impacted by this. This is going to be folks who have small businesses, who happen to rent out bikes or surfing equipment or whatnot to folks, to San Diegans. It's going to be impacting restaurants who happen to have a location at a hotel. These are small business owners who are going to be impacted by this, and we're going to have to pay for this. And if you see what's happening, if you go to a fast food restaurant, you see automation, you're never talking to anybody, businesses have choices. They either have to raise prices or they're going to have to cut jobs. It's one or the other. The money doesn't just grow on trees to help pay for this. So there's going to be a byproduct of this, and we're trying to alert folks that even though they're saying that this is going to be paid for by out-of-town tourists or these mega corporations, that's not the case. Small business owners are going to be the ones who are going to be impacted by this.
Only have a minute left, but I want to get your thoughts on the city being exempt from this. You make that point.
Yeah, absolutely. And so during the hearings, we've heard that, well, the city can't afford to pay for this. It costs too much to pay for this. Well, what makes small business owners the ones who are able to pay for this? If the city can't pay for it because of the cost of this, and they're a billion-dollar corporation, what about small businesses who also can't afford to pay for this? Why are we picking and choosing who's going to be impacted by this?
All right, well, thanks for chatting with us, Chris. What's up for the chamber? You guys coming up with something?
Yeah, we have our delegation trip to Mexico City, October 12th to 15th. This is part of our trips that we do to advocate on behalf of our regional economy here, and obviously the binational region is very important to us in San Diego, and so we're going to be there talking to leaders in Mexico City.
It's a big meeting. We'll have you back and see what was discussed.
Thank you very much
for coming on, Chris.